Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back for another episode in our virtual wine tastings series, sponsored by the Pennsylvania Wine Society. My name's Marty Cook. I'm here with Joe Villa in his home studio, and we have a special guest today from Banfi. Her name is Pam Bernd, and she's going to be doing this presentation with us. And just a couple things, if you keep your microphones muted for now, although if we have a small crowd, we might loosen up on that. And at the end of this presentation, we will have an open mic segment when you can ask all the questions you want. And also, I should point out that this program will be recorded, is actually being recorded, and your attendance signifies your approval of that. So having said all that, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm glad to see you all again. Just real quick, just wanted to mention, we're going to be looking at Banfi importer today as an importer, and this is kind of a first for us, in these events. We haven't really focused on importers yet, but I find it really important that when we're out there wine shopping, if you can put faith and reliability. Sometimes you don't need to know everything about the wine, but if you even know the importer, put some faith and again, some reliability in that, because there are a lot of good ones out there. Banfi has been around for quite a few years. They're not a new kid on the block. So again, when you see these names out there, give them some attention. I went to Banfi because Pam and we used to work together. We had a working history with the PLCB together as buyers. We bought wine, we talked about wine. She moved on, and she's now the Banfi rep, which is outstanding. I believe she has 3 states. She can tell you more about that. But I'm going to turn this over to Pam. Now we're going to be tasting these 3 wines throughout the presentation. And Pam's going to be running the show here, but we'll, I'm sure, have some things to talk about as we go through, and then we'll be tasting the wines. But if okay, I'm going to turn this over to Pam Bernd, and let's see what Banfi is all about.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe and Marty. Just to give everybody a little quick background history on me in case you didn't read the bio, I was with the Liquor Control Board for 17 years. That's where I worked with Joe when I started in the buying for the premium stores. I bought the Italian and French wines that were offered to the stores to purchase, and then did many various other things within the agency, but decided after 17 years it was time to leave. I'm so blessed that I'm able to work for Banfi Vintners. I wouldn't be able to just sell wine just to sell wine, because I'm really passionate about it. And I believe anytime you see Banfi on the label, that you're going to get a solid wine. Like, you're going to be happy with whatever you get, because they do a great job with quality. And you'll see all this as we go through the presentation. So just kind of quick, who is Banfi? We are a company that's been in the industry for over 100 years. We're focused solely on proprietary label, owner, producer, and importer. We're committed to sustainability, and we are family owned and led. So this just is a quick kind of little sheet to show where Banfi is in the wine world. So we have our Montalcino Tuscany stuff. That's kind of where Banfi went when they first started, and then stuff from Piedmont. We have kind of our value stuff with Placido, our Bellagio, Chianti, which is the Chianti and the fun wicker fiasco baskets.
The classic.
The classic,
yes.
When
I think Chianti, I'm sorry, I think, the wicker basket, and when you're done with it, what do you do with it?
Put a candle
in it. Yeah,
Yep. So we do bring one of those in. Then we have our stuff from the Pacific Northwest with our Pacific Rim Rieslings. We have Rainstorm from Oregon, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, Silver Totem, thick skinned, and then our property in Chile with our organic line of Natura.
Natura. A lot more to Banfi than just it. Yeah.
A lot more to Banfi. Yep. So this is kind of an overview. We're going to kind of go through bits and pieces of all of this, and it should all tie together. So first we have Christina Mariani May, who is our third generation sole proprietary leader of Banfi now. She's been recognized Luxury Daily of Women to Watch in 2021. Oh no, why are you going? Sorry. She helps elevate the Castello in Italy with our Michelin star restaurant. We have it's just a luxury destination. And she has been recognized for many of our great achievements as CEO. So Banfi is the #1 winery. You'll see this on a lot of our labels, recognized for exceptional environmental, social, ethical responsibility, and leadership and customer satisfaction. And Banfi affirms the idea that not only individuals, but the business itself must support ethical values as part of definition of superior quality. I don't know why.
That looks like classic Tuscany. I mean, that just is. That's
correct.
Yeah.
I mean, with those cypress trees, the mountains and the fog in the background, absolutely. So this also just showcases where Banfi has been 5-time international winner at Vin Italy. #6 top resort of hotels in Italy. We're always at least in the top 10 of hospitality and resorts in Italy for our Castello. Like I said, Michelin star, there's a balsarium on property. There is a museum on property. So where the castle is right now, it's about 17 miles from the coastal line. So they found like baby Bellini whale that they've taken, dug up. So they found a lot of artifacts because at one time where the Castello is, that's where the ocean was.
The ocean. That's amazing.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to visualize and think that 17 miles away right now is the ocean, but at one time it was up in this area.
Yeah, and a lot of the vineyards, I mean, a lot of world vineyards are, I mean, I want to think for, well, their typicity, I love that word, and expression often are vineyards that had been underwater at one time. Go ahead, Ben, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, when we'll get a little bit more into it, we find out that there's about 25 different microclimates and soils in the area. And I believe it's due to all of that, like when the ocean was there, just how it all changed throughout the world.
And how it's carved up there, sure. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is kind of how it all started. So Giovanni Mariani, when he was young, he was sent to live with his aunt Teolinda de Banfi in Italy. His father had passed away. His mother just decided to take the kids back over to Italy and kind of stay with her. Well, Teolinda was a woman that had eclectic taste. She was a great influence on Giovanni's influence of fine wine. She was actually head of the household for Achille Ratti, who was the Archbishop of Milan. He actually ended up becoming Pope Pius XI. And with him becoming Pope Pius XI, he wanted to bring Teolinda into the Vatican. Well, at that time, lay people were not allowed in the Vatican City. She was the first lay person to serve as head of the household for the staff at the Vatican because he wanted her to come with her. You can see at the end of the slide to the right, she is buried inside the Vatican City in one of the churches there because of all the stuff she did for Pope Pius XI. So what happens? Giovanni learns all of this knowledge, comes back to the United States in 1919 and starts an importing company named Banfi to honor his mom and aunt. Well, I think we all know what happens in 1920. Prohibition. So there kind of goes your importing company. Timing. So they kind of pivoted and they started selling like bitters, spices, medicinal alcohol during that time. So move forward, Prohibition ends. In the 60s, Giovanni's two sons, which are John and Harry Mariani. Jeez. am really good with technology, and I don't know why this thing keeps moving.
I have the same issue every time I have a presentation.
And
Why?
I don't want to like mess anything up because I feel like the whole presentation will blow up. So in the 60s, John and Harry, his two sons, joined the company, and they want to expand the company. So they started being a distributor for Buena Vista, and then they started being kind of like a negotiant for French and Italian wines. Well, the brothers had a vision on how to kind of get more Americans to drink wine, because he felt like the palate we were very soda poppy, fruit juice kind of culture. So what they did was they are the company that brought in Riunite Lambrusco. They felt that like Americans would really enjoy Riunite because of the soft sweetness of the wine. I believe Pennsylvania was one of the first states that Riunite was brought into because of I can't think of his name. Joe, you would know who he is. He was a huge importer in Pennsylvania, very influential in Pennsylvania, passed away a couple years ago, but he was the one that helped the Mariani family start in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not slipping my mind.
Yeah, it'll eventually pop in.
Okay.
So they ended up in a few years making Riunite the #1 selling red wine in the United States.
You know, I did hear something though about Riunite. I heard if you put it on ice.
It's very nice.
It's very nice. Yeah. So, yeah. I heard that somewhere. Yeah. So.
I think they should bring those commercials back. Like,
Hey,
again, right?
I said it for years. Riunite broke a lot of people, into wine. Boone's Farm had its merits maybe in getting wine into people's hands, but I believe Riunite Lambrusco truly was that bridge, or could have been that bridge next to White Zinfandel, in bridging people and getting them into wine, if that makes any sense, because I thought everything's evolution. You start there, but there's bigger and better things out there. So
Riunite predates
Boone's Farm,
the white sin.
Yeah. I'm just saying in the evolution, those same types are what kind of link people, I think, to, from super sweet wines into something, maybe a more beverage, and then, craving and wanting then maybe something a little more. That was my evolution. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I started with Wild Vines and then kind of went to Yellowtail, and then made my way up to kind of where I am today.
Yeah. Boy, true confessions.
So in 1978, the Mariani family, John and Harry, bought land in Montalcino, about 4,500 acres. Their fondest desire was to make wine that was good for Montalcino, make wine that was good for Italy, good for Americans, and good for all the people that love fine wine. Well, they kind of ran into some traditionalists that were like, we've been making wine for a gazillion years. Like, why are you Americans coming over here and telling us how to make wine? Well, we kept telling them this is because you're not making wine that maybe the customers want. And we're going to kind of head into what the Mariani family did for the wine industry in Montalcino itself. So kind of just a little history of Montalcino and Castello Banfi. So Biondi Santi, Clemente Santi was kind of the guy that created Brunello in 1888. So many of the farmers just moved out of the Montalcino area in the 50s. The commune became kind of a really poor town in Tuscany at that time. Banfi goes over in 1978. Prior to that, the consortio was established for Brunello. There was only 25 members in 1967, only 25. 66 Brunello became a DOC wine.
And prices doubled. Oh,
right. We're there in 78 and 80. It becomes the first DOCG wine in Italy. We see a change for Rosso di Montalcino's added to DOC. And then kind of the review and rules changed in 1998, but then we come into the 2020, you see that now there is over 250 members that are part of the Brunello Consortium, starting at 25 members. And we believe that's due to a lot of the research that Banfi did when they went over to Montalcino. So the philosophy at Banfi has always been about pioneering. So they were pioneering in the growth of vines that were not maybe traditional or really allowed in this region of Italy. You figure in Montalcino in 1978 by law, Moscato and Sangiovese were the only varietals that were allowed to be planted. Banfi brought in Cab, we brought in Merlot, Syrah, Pinot Grigio, and Chardonnay to kind of experiment with those varietals to see how they would do in the area. When 82, Banfi started a 30-year study on Sangiovese, and through this research, they found out there were 650 different clones in Montalcino that they were using for Brunello. So what Banfi did was they did this clonal research, brought it down to 15 different clones that do well. We use 3 of those clones today, but what they also did, they registered all this research with the Italian government. They wanted to share this information with everybody because they wanted everybody to make Brunello. Yeah. They wanted everybody to understand what clones work well in this soil climate. The goal was to elevate the standards of Italian winemaking.
DOCG, I think the importance of DOCG. I think that the DOC and DOCG, depending on the wine, is very loosely applied.
Yes.
So, but Brunello, here again, I want to think that, and I'm glad to hear that it's being dealt with and honed down. So,
yeah, I mean, I think when you think of like DOC, DOCG doesn't always mean quality,
right?
It's just about how much.
Well, the laws, the regs, how it's made, and
right.
what the great varieties are. And that's when
Yeah.
you were talking about the clones. I thought that's a good thing because, again, it sounds like it could have been all over the board if you're dealing with all that. So
all different clones, yeah.
Easy enough to say Sangiovese, but not when you're dealing with all those clones. So
no, and they published a book called The Pursuit of Excellence that showcases all this research that they took into Sangiovese.
Yeah.
A very technical book. I've perused through it, but it's extremely technical.
It's a Marty.
Not on that level. I thank them for doing what they did and enjoy the wine.
You're into that kind of stuff, right? Clones and
so then we went into innovation. We went into innovating, creating these hybrid fermentation tanks. We combine the best of wood and the best of stainless steel to make our fermenters. This ensures guaranteed over temperature for fermentation. Benefit of the oak allows a little bit of oxygen to be slowly introduced during fermentation, just kind of stabilize the color and tannins, and then it results in a less bitter, softer wine. And it's used for all our red wines. And then also sustainability was a huge part of Banfi since inception. Banfi uses nitrogen bottling to keep the wines low in natural sulfites and histamines. Banfi has shifted from traditional sprinkling to drip irrigation, reducing almost 80% of the water use. Rainwater is collected into 2 natural reservoirs. Banfi has about 7,100 acres that they own, but about 2,100 acres are only planted to vines. The balance of the land is planted to wheat, olive groves, plums, forests. They wanted to keep a lot of the natural environment there, so they didn't have to use a lot of pesticides. So the big key is the sustainability for us too. So here is the 3 clones we use. So Janus 50, Janus 10, and then Banfi 30 that we just created for us. About 70% of our vines are dedicated to these 3 specific clones. And then
One Spectator has called the Mariani family the builders.
Hello.
Your voice changed.
Yeah. I pulled in slides from different places, and Sharon McCarthy, which Joe, I don't know if you remember her. She was an educator we had for a really long time who was
What was the name?
fantastic. Sharon McCarthy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, so she dubbed over her voice on some of this stuff, and I thought I removed them. But in the 90s, Wine Spectator, it was a big thing. We were the builders of Brunello. So that was a big, like, through the 90s, how everybody kind of knew Banfi because of all that research they did.
Yeah.
Here I show you again those fermentation tanks that we patent, that we use, that we fill, are better for fermenting the red wines.
I don't see those in Pennsylvania.
No, they do stainless steel.
Yeah.
And then here just kind of shows leaders' environmental, social, and ethical responsibility. Again, Banfi was good for you before you knew it was good to be good. With all the sustainability, with only a third of the property being planted to vines, having kind of the forest still out there for the natural environment. And then this is kind of a video of the property.
It has to be subdivision. Wasn't Tuscany. Oh.
We got 3 distinct.
I know I mentioned in one of the slides that at some point in the 50s, 60s, Tuscany became, or Montalcino, all the farmers moved away, and it kind of made Montalcino a poor town at that time. Well, after all the research that we came in and did and shared all that information, everybody, we helped make Montalcino one of the richest towns that it is today because of all that history and research we did, so everybody could make great Brunello. So kind of what defines Banfi. So we have a unique vineyard estate. We're a constellation of single vineyards, one of the continuous Tuscan properties out there. We have all that colonial research that we did. Doing that colonial research, it helped everybody make great Brunello because we shared all that information with everybody. And then we kind of did our innovation with our Horizon project from making the different hybrid fermentation tanks for our red wines. And then this just kind of goes over, we use French oak for all reds. They're professionally cut. They put them, I've seen them, they keep them in like a parking lot outside of the winery in these hexagon shapes for about 2 years to season them. And then we toast them at a kind of a lower, slower temperature to avoid kind of too much charring that you might get from a lot of fire.
I didn't know it was French. I thought Slovenian for
So at one time,
Yeah,
they did use Slovenian,
okay.
yes, but they moved
surprises me.
to French oak now.
Okay.
Yeah. Just kind of showing that we can't harvest everything. We're not using machinery. It doesn't go through any type of crazy sorters. There's people out there sorting the grapes when they come into the winery. So then we're going to kind of move up to Piedmont. So they bought the
Just a real quick question.
Yeah.
Back to the harvesting. Do they use, and I'm assuming they're pretty large. They're not, even though they're doing the hand sorting, they don't do hand picking, right? I mean, I'm assuming there's machinery out there harvesting the grapes. I'm just saying, assuming because of how large Banfi is, that people aren't out there harvesting by hand, right? I mean,
so I would say maybe, and some of our properties were like, say Centenay comes from maybe our value stuff.
right?
They are, but I do think they hand pick a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with ever hearing about
Machinery.
machinery.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're seeing a lot of Pennsylvania wineries where I guess they're increasing in volume and used to be hand picking. A lot of these guys are going with machines now. It's just more effective, more efficient. But then, to my opinion, you kind of lose something in that as well because of what hand picking can provide. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So good question. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask around about that. So 78 buy the property in Montalcino. 79 they go up to Piedmont and buy this 19th century winery. Here's kind of where we're going to get into Gavi. This is where we do our Dolcetto or Barbera or Rosa Regali that we're going to talk about. That is just beautiful.
That one, right? Mm-hmm. Rosa Regali. Mm-hmm.
So kind of this winery at one time was mainly known for making sparkling wine in the method, Champenois method. We do a Brut and a Rosé from this winery also.
Method Champenois, outstanding.
So this is our beautiful vineyard where we plant the Cortese grapes grown in around the production area of Gavi in Piedmont. And then this just kind of depicts what Piedmont is all about, meaning foot of the mountains. This is kind of what it looks like during harvest times where the vineyards are all surrounded by fog. And so now is the time we can kind of taste and talk about Gavi. So Gavi, 100% made from the Cortese grape. They make it in still, sparkling and reservas. Cortese is kind of an ancient grape. They found out that it existed around like 1798. Kind of elongated, large clusters, as you can see, yellow, beautiful, kind of golden color that you're able to eat. Obviously, Gavi takes its name from the town,
Gavi.
the specific town of Gavi. And then anytime you see Gavi on the label, you know that it's going to be the Cortese grape. By law, you're not allowed to ferment or age the wine in wood.
Yeah, years ago, and this is before I think it got DOCG, it was known as Cortese di Gavi.
Okay.
In my day, it was Cortese di Gavi. At least at that time, I knew it was Cortese. That's what actually taught me is Cortese and Gavi. And then when it got elevated to DOCG, got the G, it's just now Gavi. Or some even use Gavi to Gavi, which is kind of confusing to me. Just kind of go with Gavi because that is the DOCG, and that kind of says it all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
if you dig into it, then you know it's only Cortese.
Italians, French, they like to put all these fun wine laws out there to confuse everybody.
I kind of like it. But this wine here, I remember, I started with the board back in 1984. And it seems to me like this brand, Principessa, has been around for quite a few years. And I don't always remember for some reason that I don't remember the Banfi name being associated with it.
Yeah, we've had it for a long time.
Okay.
You may remember there was Principessa Perlante,
Okay.
which was in a nice little pretty glass bottle that was a little effervescent.
Okay. But same folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So this is our Principessa Gavia Gavi. So there's Gavia. So there's a story behind this. So in the 6th century, there was this princess Gavia. She fell in love with a soldier. Her king forbade the marriage because he was a soldier, like he wasn't royalty. So they kind of ran off to this remote village in northern Italy. Well, they were charmed by this local wine that they maybe drank a lot of at this local pub. And as they kept drinking this Gavi wine, they kind of let it slip who they were. So the king had a thing out that if someone found them, he would give them money. Well, the bar owner's like, I'm telling the king, like, I have his daughter here. Well, they come back to the kingdom. The father realizes that the daughter really loves this man and that he's going to let them get married. But what he also did, he named the village and the wine after her, Gavia. So that's kind of where they say maybe the name Gavi came from because of this Princess Gavia Gavi.
Wow.
Fun, cute little story.
It is. And this Gavi, I'm telling you, has been around. It's like a standard to me. It's been around, it seems, for years. And I love this grape. I look at the alcohol in this. I'm a proponent of moderate wines that are in moderate alcohols, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The New World wines at 14%. Just I can't handle them anymore. Just can't do it. I'm an old world guy, and when I see 12%, that tells me. And then, of course, when I taste this, I'm not blown away with alcohol. I get a little bit of minerality, which I love, and that lemony citrus. This would be a great seafood wine to me. So anyone out there, if you're not familiar with Gavi, give this one a try because I think it's well worth it. And even just for a cold glass of white wine. I'm not anti-Chardonnay. I just kind of avoid Chardonnay anymore. And I kind of look for these kind of grapes because, again, providing something different,
They're providing something different. Like this is such an enticing wine. You always think like your top varietals are Cab, Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio. I struggle with Pinot Grigio because to me, it's just, we have one that we'll talk about that's a little bit different, but it's just a lot of lemony water.
Lemon water. Yeah, very simple.
Correct.
Yeah.
When you get into some of these other varietals from Italy, they're so gorgeous. There's so much flavor going on with them. And they're not overly powering, where sometimes you think Chardonnay can be overly powering with that oak, with that vanilla. Where these Italian varietals are just delicious. I always think you should always, when you're looking for something, you just kind of want a nice, easy white wine, look at Italy because there's so many great different varietals out there from Italy.
Well, and again, back to, I've stressed this also over the years myself is, Italy regionally, they make these wines, the foods that are made or the cheeses and everything regionally, they've done this stuff for thousands of years. Yeah, we need to take their advice. I think they know what's going on. This wine to me is one that, again, I can easily finish, and that's critical or key. I think when we're matching wines with food, often one glass is all I can handle. Like you say, if it's too oaky, too alcoholic. Now you don't have to like Cortese, but to me, this grape is unique. You're really only, don't tell California, because next thing you know, you're going to find Cortese growing somewhere in California. Yeah, if you know what I mean, because it's always repetitive like that. But no, I think it's a good wine.
Yeah, I've done it. Thank you. I've done this at tastings before, and people are like, "Oh, we're not familiar with it," and they taste it, and they're just like blown away how great it is. So, current vintage 2020 just received 91 points from James Suckling. So it is such an enticing kind of different white wine. If you got to taste it, I hope you enjoyed it. If not, go grab some because it is quite delicious.
What's the price point on this?
The price point is $16.99, and it goes on sale for about $2 down to $14.99, sometimes $13.99. And there might be some coupons out there too throughout the year.
I like it.
And Sue likes it. She's in the kitchen.
Thank you. Thank you. So then I just feel like some of these other wines we're not tasting, but they have to be talked about.
Yes.
Just because this is something unique that's to Banfi. So we have our unique Rosa Regale. We're introducing our sparkling white that's going to be in the stores for the holidays, which is Moscato d'Asti.
Wow.
But what we have here is our Rosa Regale Brachetto de Key. It is a sparkling red. I think a lot of times we always think about this as a dessert wine. I think it's very versatile. Does have some sweetness to it, but it's not cloyingly sweet, say like a dessert wine. There's great acidity to it. Strawberries, raspberry, rose petals. It's just a gorgeous wine. Supposedly, this was the Rosa Regale was the wine Mark Anthony gave to Cleopatra to kind of win her heart. The grapes are grown on a UNESCO World Site in Piedmont. We've tried to kind of grow the wines at a different site, and they just never turn out as great as they do on this site where they're grown. It's very versatile. Cocktails. If you just want something nice and sweet to drink, this is perfect. If you want it for dessert, this and chocolate, amazing. But
if you take a bottle of this to a party, it will be finished.
It'll be finished. Number one wine sold at Disney. When I do this at tastings all the time, people are like, "Oh, we had this at Disney because of an Epcot in Italy. It's the number one wine." It's so different. And I think everybody, even though people might be like, "Oh, we don't like sweet wines," I think it's just something you have to try because there's just something so special about it.
Pam, and you keep mentioning, the sweetness. What I've always found critical in Astis or even this wine, you mentioned one thing, and that would be that it needs to have a little bit of acidity for that backbone. Otherwise, it's just sweet, flat, and anyone can make that. So, pointing out that little bit of acidity, I think, is important for the balance. And
100%. I mean, you taste it in that acidity, just kind of like makes your mouth water. It
helps clean it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Perfect for the holidays.
Too pretty too.
It is. So,
Ooh.
So at Banfi, we were also Pinot Grigio. But we're a little bit different in Pinot Grigio because our grapes are grown in Tuscany. We have our San Angelo, which is in the stores. New is our Centenay. We have our Larime and then our Placido. But I kind of want to talk about the San Angelo and Banfi and Pinot Grigio. So when the family went over there, Pinot Grigio wasn't a varietal that was approved. Moscato and Sangiovese were the only wines that were approved. So we planted Pinot Grigio. We asked the government if we made 3 great vintages, would you let us sell it? 1982, we made our first vintage, and we've been selling it ever since. I like this Pinot Grigio because it has depth. the grapes are being grown in Tuscany. You have a warmer climate, where the northern counterparts cool their climate, so you're getting a lot more acidity. This has some nice body to it, some nice riper fruit to it. So it is just a little bit different than some of the other Pinot Grigios out there because of where it's grown. In the stores also were $17.99 for this Pinot Grigio. But I think it attests to what the Mariani family was doing, that they were able to make great Pinot Grigio, that the government let them sell it, when at that time it wasn't an approved varietal.
Do you know what the number one selling Pinot Grigio is in the state of Pennsylvania?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and if you know what that price point is, yours is like $5, maybe $6 cheaper.
Correct.
So, yeah. So
And the quality, like if you would taste them side by side, you'd be blown away with
we're
how.
talking about Santa Margarita. We don't really want to mention that too loud. Santa Margarita is the number one selling Pinot Grigio, but it's also, in my opinion, have always been my opinion, overpriced. Why is it priced that way? Because people continue to pay it. You know, it's America, folks. Be real. If they could charge you $100 a bottle for it and get away with it, they would. Does not make it the best thing in the world. So kind of be flexible. Hear what Pam is saying, that this Tuscan Pinot Grigio, $5-6 cheaper than that Santa Margarita, may deliver a little bit more flavor, a little bit more interest. Again, my thing is, you know, back to not being the typical. Yeah, to me, it's lemon water, often in those $7.99ers up north. But yeah, give this one a try.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head, Joe. I mean, it offers something where I've had Santa Margarita before. Like I mean, it sells, but I just think we offer a little bit more quality to the wine.
Pam, I have a question from one of the viewers. Liz would like to know, what food would you pair with this Pinot Grigio?
I think you can do it as like an aperitif, where you're kind of doing antipasta, meat, cheeses, artichokes, but then also lighter fish, lighter chicken. I know a lot of times we think about salads, and when you put vinegar on them, pairing wines, I think like a nice light salad would work perfect with these scallops, because you still have that nice acidity to it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So then we are also Chianti. So we go over to Tuscany. We do all this Sangiovese research. What goes into Chianti? Sangiovese. We have our kind of entry-level Superiore Chianti. Our Chiantis are very old world style. So they kind of have that nice acidity you get from Sangiovese, that nice fruit structure. They're not overly fruity like some of the New World Chiantis can be. So we have our Superiore. All our Chianti labels depict like famous artwork that's in Italy. So this is Leonardo da Vinci's Lady with an Ermine picture on our label. I probably should ask one of these days why we chose to do these kind of labels, but I kind of like them. I like how they're using Italian artwork on the labels. And
also looking at the variety breakdown of that wine.
Correct.
Looks a little beefier, you know, by adding a little bit of the cab.
Cabernet, yep. 75% Sangiovese, then 25 cab, a little Canniolo Nero in there. In the store for $12.99, and then we reduce it down to $10.99.
Oh man!
I believe this month actually.
Yeah. Now Superiore, can you add anything to that term?
Superiore is it has to have a little bit more alcohol in it.
Yeah.
I believe like 5% maybe, or it has to be at least 13% to be called Superiore.
Yeah, when I was, you know, and again, it is my understanding was just a little bit more ripeness to the grapes, and but not quite Reserva. You know, straight Chianti is one, but then Superiore can be just a little riper, and then it's treated, I think, like regular Chianti.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
I mean, you see Superiore when you think about Valpolicella, so it has something to do with just like that ripeness and just a little bit more alcohol in it.
I prefer it. I prefer superiority for that reason. That it's just, and again, not too much, but it's just that little bit extra that I think is, well, again, I used to be not a big fan of Chianti, and now I absolutely love Chianti, from straight Chianti all the way to the Reservas. So yeah.
They all offer something different.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we'll talk about a Reserva, and there's a reason it offers something different. So then our Chianti Classico, coming from that classical region of Chianti, just a little bit of French oak aging, another kind of old world style Chianti.
I love the labels. I love them.
Correct. So this is a label depicting Pope Pius II, like a meeting with Pope Pius II. So when you go to the Duomo, the Piazza Duomo in Florence, if you've never been, I recommend it. It is gorgeous. Like I fell in love with it when I was there a couple years ago. But what happened was Pope Pius III commissioned this building to have all these paintings inside depicting Pope Pius II's life. So this is a specific painting from that. 2019 vintage just was also awarded 91 points from Wine Spectator. This also mainly Sangiovese, unlike the Superiore, which has about 25% Cabernet Candiolo Nero in it, this just has a small amount in it. And then we have our Reserva. So with Reserva, based on laws in Tuscany, it has to have at least 2 years of aging, 12 months of it in oak. This does say Slovenian, but I know we've changed it to all French oak. Some of our text sheets are not always updated.
Not just you.
Crazy.
Not just you.
And then it ages at least 6 months in the bottle. So this one you can definitely the oak aging adds to it. You get those like nice oak undertones that oak's supposed to bring to wine, but it's not overpowering.
Yeah, not banging you over the head. Yeah, picking splinters out of your teeth, not happening. Yeah.
Correct. Or however they do it in California, where they make it super concentrated. Like
California.
It's amazing. So like all our Chianti's perfect for pizzas, pastas, just kind of like that simple everyday food. Then you could do almost pork, roast dishes, cheeses. So they're very versatile with everything like that too. This picture does depict something, but unfortunately, I don't know what it is, and I couldn't figure it out. But there is a story behind it. $21.99 in the stores, and then we do reduce it $3 off at least 4 times a year.
Watch these sales, guys.
Now, this one does have Slovenian oak.
She says, but it's French. It just didn't update the sheet.
Yeah, their text sheets haven't been updated because I know we've told us it's French oak.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon. I mean, that things change, but they don't always update.
Yeah.
And this is a tech sheet generally for the brand, not vintage specific either.
Correct.
Yeah, or for the for the Reserva, but not vintage specific. So
yep. I could, if we wanted, talk about like the rooster, the black rooster on the label.
Yeah, give us the background.
What is that?
It's always a fun story. So there's back in the day, the people of Florence and people of Siena were kind of trying to determine their border delineation. So what they decided one day, they were going to have this race where whoever got to a certain point on their horses, that was going to delineate the area between Florence and Siena. So they were going to do it based on in the morning. So what happened was this one area, I can't remember if it was the Sienans or the Florence people, that the one town would constantly feed their rooster, constantly feeding him. So he's kind of sleepy. He's kind of tired all the time because he's eating all this food. Well, the other town kind of starved their rooster. So that rooster was up and crowing at the crack of dawn. So that town was up and they were the ones that got the furthest to determine the delineation between Florence and Siena.
So the horseback riders took off at the crack of dawn. When
Crack of dawn.
Road.
Well, the other ones were hanging out because
Sleeping.
their rooster was still sleeping because his belly was full.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
So that point, that midpoint is where they now designate with the rooster. That meeting point.
Yes,
Okay.
that's where they delineated the area between Florence and Siena. So we talked about Banfi's claim to fame, Brunello. We are Brunello because of all that pioneering research that they did to make great Brunello. This shows the kind of levels of different Brunellos we have. So we have our regular DOC Brunello, about 350 acres are brought to this specific Brunello. Then we have our Poggia alla Mora. Poggia alla Mora is the castle that's behind me, castle on the hill. So those grapes are kind of surrounded in and around the castle. I don't know that you can see my cursor. So there's the castle. So it's all the vineyards around there. We have Reserva, which has to age 5 years altogether. And then we have our Poggia alla Oro Brunello site, which is on the Golden Hill, kind of a specific area for that Reserva. The Poggia alla Mora and the Poggia alla Oro, we only make in specific vintages. And then we kind of have this new one that we're bringing into the market, Vigna Marchetto, kind of based on this Banfi Albarello kind of the way they trestling that they do, and then of course our clonal research on it. So just kind of showcasing the different areas for our Brunello. 1978 was the first year we produced Brunello, using kind of the clones that were around until we started all that clonal research. French oak again, 2 years in French oak. We leave ours in the bottle for 3 years before we release it. 2016 is the current Brunello vintage.
Oh, Rosso.
The Rosso, I believe we're going to taste Rosso.
I have Rosso right here. I do. You
So,
know, it's interesting. Rosso, we used to call this baby Brunello.
yeah, absolutely.
And when I started in the liquor stores, these wines were between $10 and $20. Real easy drinking. You know, it was a nice introduction. Then somewhere along the line, they got a little pricier.
Yeah, they have gone up over the years. I know ours $24.99, and we discounted, but definitely a baby Brunello. Doesn't have to have the same aging requirements as Brunello does. So we're about 12 months in French oak, 6 months in the bottle before we release it. If you would taste these two side by side, you would definitely be able to tell the difference that oak aging makes on the Sangiovese grape.
Yeah.
This is great introduction to Montalcino.
Yeah.
Fresh, lively, some great like fresh fruit on it. It's not overly tannic. There's nice acidity to it, which a lot of times when you think of Italy, you think of wine and food. That's because of the acidity that's coming from these wines that pair perfectly with the food of the regions. Yeah.
I mean, I'm tasting this wine right now, and it's like, you know, it has that classic kind of I don't know, an earthy cherry kind of a flavor. And I love this because it's, to me, easy drinking, has tannin. Don't think, you know, I don't want people to think this is like tannin free. But again, back to when you're having this with something, that's the whole point, to kind of match this up. This wine is well balanced. What is the alcohol on this? Because it seems
13.
Yeah, it seems moderate, very moderate. Now I'm assuming if we went to the Brunello di Montalcino, alcohol might be a little more.
Yep.
But then we're also dealing with more oak, and it's just, I would think, stepping this up into just a heavier version. If people like this, just understand Brunello is, I think, just double this a little bit, and that's what
correct. And I mean, a lot of times I hear from people like, oh, Banfi, they're so big, like they're commercialized. Well, really, we're not.
No.
But the great thing about Banfi, they're consistent every year. So you might have a producer, Brunello, that maybe in 15 got 96 points. It was amazing. But then the next year, maybe they don't get that. But Banfi is super consistent with everything they do.
One word, drinkability. 96 points doesn't mean that wine is ready to roll. And again, back to when we're talking about getting something for dinner tonight. So, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever, say if we have a year that's maybe not great in Brunello, those Brunello grapes will be declassified and they'll be put in Rosso di Montalcino. Because of what Banfi does with the hybrid fermentation tanks, they bottle over nitrogen. These wines are very approachable now, but they are wines that will age for years just because of all the stuff they put into it. So if you have this to taste it, I hope you're enjoying it.
I would recommend people buy this. If you're going to drink it right away, just open it for a few hours, and it'll be just fine. It'll soften up just fine. Open up again, because my bottle's been open, I think, for about 2 hours, and I think it's showing just the way. Back to that word typicity, it's kind of what I expect. There's a lot of bad wine out there, and again, people tend to set that wine snob bar too high. I look again for drinkability, and these are solid wines. And back to putting your faith into a name and a brand, and what you said, consistency. So. I'm talking too much. Go ahead.
So then just kind of going back into talking about the Brunello, after you tasted the Rosso di Montalcino, because this is our claim to fame, 2 years in oak, 4 years or 3 more years before we release it. Again, just kind of soft, velvety because of what that oak aging does to the Brunello Sangiovese grape. It just kind of changed a little bit. And then we have 14% here. I'm going to go over some of our super Tuscans that are 14%. But if you drink them, you don't know that you have a 14% wine. You're not getting that high alcohol. You don't get that high alcohol burn that you get sometimes for those higher alcohol wines. They're not super concentrated. They're just very well balanced between whatever grape varietals we're using. Brunello, drink it with everything, especially Banfi Brunello.
Goes with everything. Just don't put it on ice.
Yeah, no. So this just kind of shows Banfi's consistent, shows all our ratings over the years, consistent quality again, even when bad years. So Monica Larner says a great from Wine Advocate. Castello Banfi delivers one of the finest sets of wines that I've ever tasted from this estate, American-owned benchmark. It's just because they're constantly consistent. So we are also super Tuscans. So I said before that when Banfi went over there in the early 80s, they researched planted grapes that were not allowed varietals in that region. Cab, Merlot, Syrah. We used to do them as single vineyards at one time. Decided that they didn't want to do it single vineyards at some point, and so we have our line of super Tuscans.
There was a time, Pam, you could actually find all those wines on Pennsylvania shelves.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We're in a different era. So.
I try.
I
try.
These are good wines.
I think it's a lot of getting like things like this, speaking to people about Banfi. There's so much wine out there. There's so much trial and error. There's a lot of wineries that have all this money that they can put into marketing. Yeah. And then you kind of forget about some of these wines that have been around for so long they're fantastic. Yeah. The cum laude, if you see it anywhere, Cab Merlot heavy, but Sangiovese Syrah, that Syrah just rounds out that cum laude, just adds some nice, of that kind of smokiness, dark fruit that Syrah brings in. It is If you like some of those California Cabernets, I think this is a perfect one because it kind of has that velvety silkiness without having that over concentration, because these are 14% wines. One of them the Excelsis might be even 14.5.
Wow.
Yeah. But when you taste them, they don't drink like that. Sumis, Sangiovese, Cabernet, Syrah blend. Excelsis, it's like liquid velvet. Heavy Merlot, Cabernet. It's just gorgeous. And that's the one that I think is 14.5. And it doesn't drink like it has that much alcohol in it.
Just talking to Marty about, having these in the stores years ago, and the buyer at that time was Mark Hazer, and Mark knew his Italian wine, and these were almost a standard. It's kind of funny how they go from having that availability to just disappearing. But people, please let it be known. I mean, these wines are still out there. They're available in other markets. Don't let Pennsylvania stop you. So
I know a lot about Banfi because when I was in the stores and Mark was buying that stuff and putting them in the stores,
right.
We did a lot more educational stuff when I was in the stores. We did a lot more tastings when I was in the store. That's how I knew Banfi, because of selling the wines in the store, and I knew they were solid wines.
Right. I just don't want people to forget about them, because just because you go into a store today and don't see them, don't think that they don't exist. It's just because of whatever the current politics are in the state. So. Yeah,
I would. If you figure it out one day, let me know. Maybe we'll go back and change it. So then we kind of have our Tuscan brand property of wines, starting with our Centenay. Centenay for every day. It is 60 Cabernet, 20 Merlot, 60 Sangiovese, 20 Cab, 20 Merlot. We kind of say Centenay for every day. There's not a lot of oak aging on this because it's a red blend. It's super fresh, it's fruity, but it's not cloyingly fruit forward like some of the red blends that are out there today. It's very well balanced. We kind of say Centenay for every day because it's just an easy drinking, great wine.
It's really affordable.
Correct. For $10 in the stores, it's very affordable. I know when I was in the stores, a lot of people would come in and be like, "Do you have that Centene wine?" Centenay. It's actually archways that are in the farmhouse. That's where the name comes from. And super excited. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, this is going to be in the stores. We used to do Centenay Bianco, which is a blend of kind of Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, different.
Trebbiano, was there any Trebbiano in it?
I don't remember Trebbiano.
Okay.
But just kind of, it sold. It was good, but just to kind of elevate the brand of Centenay, we decided to make Pinot Grigio, and I think it's a great decision. Again, coming from Tuscany, so you get that lively, fresh, little bit more fruit to it than some of the other Pinot Grigios. So within the next couple of weeks, this will be landing in PA. Rosé, Sangiovese, Merlot, again, this brand is just an easy, lovable brand. Rosé has all those nice qualities with the cherry, the strawberry that you're looking for in Rosé. The 2020 vintage will be landing also when the Rosso and Pinot Grigio in the next couple of weeks.
Very crisp.
Good.
Very crisp. Yep.
You see the acid.
Centenay again, just a great wine. We updated the labels compared to what it used to look like, and I think they knocked it out of the park with this one. Definitely stands out. So kind of something new, something fun coming from Banfi. So it's our La Pettegolo Vermentino. It's really a captivating wine. The 2020 vintage will also be landing, fresh, fruity, lively on the palate.
Try this, folks. This was going to be the white selection, but it wasn't here in time, because I was fortunate to try this before I retired. And if you get a chance, if you see it out there, give this one a shot. Again, this was supposed to be our white selection today. It just wasn't going to be available in time, but
100% Vermentino coming from Tuscany, but the unique thing about ours is 75% of the grapes come from the coastal region, and then 25% come from inland. Again, slightly warmer climate, so this gives the wine a little bit more richness, a little bit more concentration by combining these two areas. It is an absolute stunner of a wine. You get almost a savory character because you get kind of the salinity from the air in the Maremma, that coastal region, that the grapes get that salt water on it. It is gorgeous. I sometimes like to explain it like a softer, elegant Sauvignon Blanc. There's just some nice floral notes to it. There's great fruit flavor to it. It is gorgeous. Kind of has a fun meaning behind the name because La Pettegola has a double meaning in Italy. So La Pettegola are these kind of birds that fly around along the coastline. We kind of call them sandpipers in the US, but they're called La Pettegolas in Italy. And when they flock together, they kind of oftentimes make this chattering sound when they're together. And some people suggest that this chattering sounds like these beautiful Tuscan women that kind of hang out in the street and gossip about what's going on in the town. So there's kind of that fun double meaning to this.
The fish
When
wine.
you get a chance to try this, I'm sure you'll want to gossip to all your friends about how delicious this wine is. I can't speak to how, it's a gorgeous wine. And again, I love Vermentino from Southern Italy. They tend to be a little bit more ripe, a lot more fruit to it. This has a nice salinity to it. Those different varietals from Italy just kind of hit the spot sometimes with just a different kind of fun wine to try.
Back to Chardonnay alternatives. Not everything in
Yep.
the world has to be Chardonnay. And please, people, look at these varieties because they are really neat and they're interesting.
And they're versatile.
Yeah.
Versatile, and they're easy. Like some people don't like, say, Chardonnay because of all that heavy oak, or Sauvignon Blanc because maybe there's too much acid in it, where these varietals from Italy just kind of
Balance.
they're balanced. They're just gorgeous. You can't be offended by them, I think. So last, I believe this was another one of the wines that you had. So this is our Asca. This is kind of our Loring red wine because the name comes from an Etruscan vessel that the Etruscan gods used to hold their best wines, hold their olive oils in their ascas. They would invite mortals to come up and sip from their vessel, and they thought sipping from the vessel, any of their dreams will come true. So asca, and you shall receive.
There we go.
Where can I find one of those vessels?
So from the Bulgari region. Bulgari region is where Super Tuscans kind of were born. We're predominantly Cab, the little bit of Cabernet Franc.
Yeah, I think
Again,
yeah.
Cabernet being aged 10 months in a barrel, 14%. Very balanced. You don't get that overly concentrated, ripe fruit. I think it showcases the wine very well.
Yeah, what I have here is this is deeper and darker, obviously. I mean, we're talking Cabernet, a little bit richer. And what I like about these wines, that they always seem to reflect, again, that I hate to use it, seems so overused, terroir. The typicity, I kind of expect it. If I see New World varieties, I still want to see kind of an old, or have an old world feel. I smell this wine, and this is not California. And this is what I love about the wine. What's the alcohol on this one? 14?
14.
No, back to what you were saying, back to balance. I'm not blowing flames out my mouth. It's not hot in alcohol. It's balanced. It does require, it really should have a piece of meat.
A big piece of meat to it.
Stand up to this. But this is really nice wine. It was $24.99, I think, on the shelf.
Correct. Yep. $24.99 from wine coming from Bulgari. When you think of this region, some wines can cost $100 to $200.
Yes.
And we have this affordable Cabernet focused wine. I think it shows what Cabernet should be compared to New World stuff where it's overly concentrated, overly fruit
They
forward.
push the limits. They push ripeness, push the oak, push everything to those limits so they can get a 95 from Parker.
Yes.
It doesn't make it match with food. All right. And I can't stress that enough to people that when you're looking at these wines, look for balance overall, from the acidity to the tannin to the fruit to the alcohol. And think about it and match what you would match that up with. I can match that bad boy up with a simple hamburger and be fine with it because I like the flavor of it. And I think that's what it kind of boils down to, kind of liking the wine itself. And it's good
I'll
stuff.
give a shout out to a restaurant in the area, Gabriello's. Gabriella's a great Italian restaurant. They carry Asca, Brunello, Vermentino. So
In this area?
Oh, yes. And
Gabriella's, yep,
Gabriella's, okay.
on Jonestown Road.
Oh, my goodness.
Benici's in Hershey carries the Asca.
Oh, okay. So you're out there. Outstanding.
Trying to get out there a little bit more, yeah.
I think Gabriella's has a location on Gettysburg Road as well. Don't they?
I don't know Gabriella's. I'm going to have to look at it.
No, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
So anyway, good stuff.
So then just kind of Banfi's best, showing where we have 90 plus points on a lot of our wines, from our Brunellos, Super Tuscans, Chiantis, Centenary to some of our whites. Just kind of shows in the world of ratings, kind of Banfi's up there where they always have great press.
That reinforces the consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to put faith in these numbers. All this is pretty much when you taste the wine, if you like them and think that this just reinforces what you just tasted. So,
yeah. So then real quick, just wanted to call out, we are Pacific Northwest. We have our Oregon brand of Rainstorm, Pinot Noir, Willamette Valley in the stores. We are $18.99. I'm going to say most of your Willamette Valley wines in PA are over $20 with that AVA on there. So great price point on that. It's a little bit more, say, Burgundian style. It's not that over. I think sometimes in the United States, we get so excited about that fruit forward that because we're soda pop culture, like, so I think that's why a lot of that stuff sells. Silver Totem Cab, you may have seen it in the stores from Washington as this chairman selection. We have more coming in for I think $10.
Whoa.
Solid cab.
What is it? Cabernet?
Cabernet, a little bit of Malbec in it.
And Columbia, is it Columbia Valley?
Horse Heaven Hill.
Oh, goody. HHA.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Okay.
It's great. And then our Riesling Pacific Rim Rieslings, we bought the property from Randall Graham in 92. So we've been really seeing a great push for these Rieslings. We have our drier side, more German style with the petrol in it. Just a lot of great ripe fruit, peaches, kind of nice acidity where when you taste it, you want to go back for more because of that acidity. And then our sweet Riesling.
The Silver Totem is always a big hit.
Do you still does Pacific Rim still do the Framboise?
They do. No, they don't. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, because
I bought some out in the stores.
Go ahead.
There might still be some out in the stores, but we don't. It's only been the Glacier now.
Okay, yeah, that's what I had bought some of the closeout Framboise. So okay, so it's just the Glacier now.
We have our Pacific Rim Wicked Red coming out. I'm not sure when we'll see it in PA, but it is Cabernet and a little bit of Moscato, so it does have that kind of Moscato.
Oh, that's weird.
Taste to it.
Okay, whoa.
And then Natura, so #1 organic brand, imported brand brought into the United States. This brand has just been exploding the last couple of years, especially with the introduction of our rosé and Pinot Noir, 100% organic, gluten-free, vegan friendly. Just a great solid brand from Chile.
Mm-hmm. No Carmenere.
We do, yes. So Cab, Merlot, Carmenere, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noir, rosé, and Malbec. We just don't have Malbec in PA.
Okay. Oh,
That's
that
all
was
I
it.
have. I hope everybody found it enjoyable, entertaining. I hope I didn't bore you with me dredging on about all this information.
Not at all.
For
It was
over an hour.
very informative and very interesting, Pam, and I can't thank you enough. And for those of you who are viewing, I see we already lost one, but we do have a we do have an open mic segment right after this. And if you're interested in if you're not already a member of the Pennsylvania Wine Society, check out our website and check out our newsletter as well as membership options. And if you have any questions, you can contact me. I'm the president, Marty Cook. There's my email address.
That's not a gun. He's the man. All right.
So anyway, and with that, if you want to take down the slides, Pam, and we can open it up to the gallery and let them ask questions.
I will say I saw that there's a Rhone thing going on next Friday that
Yes.
I might participate in myself. So
Okay.
if anybody's there, I could definitely love to chat with you. But I'm excited about. I love Rhone, so it's an area I'm excited to taste.
Absolutely. That's on Friday evening, I believe.
Mhm.
And we also this Wednesday at 7 p.m. we actually have a wine Wednesday dealing with wines of Italy, and so this was a nice prelude
Perfect.
to that. So if anybody wants to join us then, and in the announcement that was sent out, I mentioned that Italy is that 25% of the world's recognized wine grapes are indigenous to Italy. So there's, as Pam said earlier, there's plenty from which to choose. So, and you've already gotten a really good sampling today of exactly what's out there. So with that, would anybody like to ask any questions? Look at all those.
I'm showing off my new beer shirt.
Oh,
Where
Jesus.
is it? Yeah, there it is. No one commented on my beer shirt.
I think it should be a wine shirt, actually, but
Well, it's
Can I ask a question?
Scovia.
Christine has a question.
Yeah, I'm trying to determine what the Brunel, what kind of grape that is. Can you give me a little bit more information about it?
The Brunello?
so
Yeah,
you're asking. Your question is you want more information about the Brunello grape. Is that what you're saying?
that would be great.
Okay.
Like the parentage or something like that could help me.
Say that. What was the last thing you said?
The parentage, maybe?
I mean, Brunello is really Sangiovese.
Okay,
It's just another name for
Understood.
Sangiovese. When you think about like Barolo, you have Nebbiolo. Barbera or Barbaresco, you have Nebbiolo. So Brunello is just another name for Sangiovese. Morellina di Cingano is another name for Sangiovese. So it's just a Vino di Noble is another name for Sangiovese. So that's kind of what it is.
helpful, thank you, because I didn't have the name.
Yeah.
So when you
most-
think about Brunello, Chianti's, Rosa di Montalcino's, that's going to be Sangiovese.
Okay,
Yeah, most of your wines coming out of most of the wines coming out of Tuscany as a base, no matter what they're named, don't let that confuse you. Probably are Sangiovese based. It's local dialect and/or these clones can get very confusing. But when you think Tuscany, just really try to think Sangiovese and look into it a little bit deeper, because you'll find that it's very strange, but it's just named locally different. But Sangiovese is really what it boils down to.
So, and I'm anxious to see what Super Tuscan Averill brings to the wines of Italy, because everything is she'll bring it back to France somehow, right, Averill?
Is that Averill's out there? Where's she at? Where's she at?
She's right there.
Oh, Averil. Okay.
She doesn't have her picture up, but
I'd love to hear from her. She's off. She won't.
where's
I've actually visited Banfi. So, quite a few years ago.
I mean, I suggest everybody
Loved
should
it. Loved it. Yes.
go over and visit Tuscany, Italy, and if you get a chance to go to Banfi, because they do hospitality
Yeah. They were.
100% well.
That's what they said. All they do is eat. He said, eat.
I see Scott's where are you hiding, Scott? I see you. I see your
Scott,
I see you're here.
where you at, Scott? Where you hiding?
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
I know you like Italian wines. You're muted, Scott. I see your lips moving.
I see the whole house.
Wow, yeah. Like, thanks for the tour. There's April now. I see.
There she is. I can't hear her though.
Wait.
All night,
What
right?
did pour in there? What was that?
It almost looked like Nicole.
Liz Tor, what are you pouring? Or what did he just pour?
We poured the Rosso di Montalcino.
Oh, that was the rest of
Oh, there you go.
Outstanding.
Nice.
I should say he poured more.
Good. Questions? Nothing?
What are some of you other folks drinking? Kathy
on.
Boyd, what are you drinking? I hope it's not sake.
What did you say? You asked me what
are
I'm
you
drinking.
What are you drinking?
I'm going to buy the third one. I have not bought it. But I do have to say, I probably kept Banfi afloat by the amount of Riuniti I drank, though.
Thank you.
That was my first wine.
Hey,
Absolutely.
That made me chuckle that it was one of the first in Pennsylvania. So it meant I was one of the first drinkers of it then.
Yeah, back in the early 70s, it sold for $1.86, I think, right? $1.84, and it even had a cork.
no.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, wow.
All right.
All right. Anybody
Good?
else? If we don't have any more chit chat going on, then I'll let this lady go. Thank you again, Pam.
Thank you.
We want to talk about what's coming up in the future.
Oh, yes.
All
Well,
right.
we did mention a couple of things.
All right.
The Red Roan is this Friday.
Yeah.
There's still tickets
And
available.
who's hosting that?
I believe Lynn is hosting that. I forget.
But is that Eric Miller?
Eric Miller.
And who is Eric Miller? I believe
Are you still here?
I believe Eric Miller. That rings in with Chadsford. Is that Chadsford? Whoa!
Got a lot of
What was
feedback
that?
there.
Wow.
Lynn,
That was pretty cool.
Lynn, you want to give a plug to your event?
She go away.
She's
All
Hey,
right.
Marty, Liz had a question. She was waving her hand. I don't know if you
Oh,
saw.
Liz, did you have a question? You're muted, Liz.
No, what I did, that was the clapping hands. I didn't notice.
All right,
I'm not sure what that was.
She just got too excited.
When you said that we were thanking her for her presentation, that was
Okay.
they have a
All
thing, the hands were clapping. That was just applauding.
And finally, one of the things we want to mention too is that in 2 weeks from today, Joe Villa will return.
Go figure.
And he will be doing German wine labels,
Yes.
which are always confusing, along with his mother-in-law,
Yeah.
who happens to be German,
Inga.
Inga,
I love her.
and she can speak the language and
Yeah.
pronounce these things correctly.
We're just gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, bring some German wine to the table and, Ers Orger Abfüllung. Huh? Yeah,
What-
that's Joe's pronunciation. Then we'll get Inga's. Right. So,
The
yeah. So
Oh, gosh.
we'll have some fun, and we have some other things coming up down the road as well, from Syrah to
Champagne.
aromatized wines, and then finally with champagne in December. So yeah, we'll be tasting some good stuff.
Lots more good virtual stuff.
But I do want to take a second, especially to thank Pam for taking the time here out of her day and sharing Banfi, and again, reinforce to you guys the importance of these importers. And hopefully we can bring some others to the table. But Banfi's been around for a while, old world. Again, you don't have to like the wines. Stylistically, I do. I'm just an old world kind of guy. And again, I think the wines are very well balanced. So check out Banfi,
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I actually look forward to maybe doing some of the events that you guys are hosting in the future too.
Please,
We're here.
that would be great. All right. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.